Well, good morning, and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folari. After all said and done, the election has been concluded. Indeed, congratulations are, very much in order. The president has congratulated the winning PDP in Osun, whose candidate won the election. Of course, it's not news anymore that the sitting governor at the election did not succeed. Indeed, the other biggest party, well, biggest, but you know what I mean. PDP won that election. Okay, we'll look at, what we can learn from that election and, how things went, and are there any adjustments that need to be made so that everything will indeed fall into place the way it should be. Well, first of my guests this morning in studio is Dr. Jide Johnson, Chief Lecturer, NIJ, Nigerian Institute of Journalism, as well as Political Affairs Analyst. Dr. Johnson, thank you very much as always for coming on.
Uncle, it's a privilege, and good morning and good day to all our viewers all over the world.
Indeed, thank you very much. I also have another doctor. I have them surplus this morning. Dr. Ope Banwo, attorney, Techprenuer, and founder of Naija Lives Matter.org, is also at the other end. Good morning to you, Dr. Ope Banwo.
Morning, sir. Great to be here. It's been a while.
Indeed, indeed. Can't wait for you to get back home, but we'll take what we can get till we can get you live in studio. We still are live now. Okay, let me kick off with you if you want. You've been following the polity here. You might have been surprised, you might not have been surprised at the result of the Osun election. Tell me how it was with you.
Well, yes, thank you so much again for having me in the studio. Yes, I have been following on the ground. Naija Lives Matter actually has a whole contingent of team in Osun. We will have an office there because we monitor election as well as mobilize for candidates of our choice. So we were on ground there. No, I am not surprised. As a matter of fact, I'm even surprised it was even that close because when you go into an election in the middle of a civil war, it's very difficult to win a state that APC should have won very easily, but we all know there's a lot of internal fighting, and the other things that used to also turn elections. Sometimes rigging was not allowed on a large scale, and the election was to a large extent very free and fair. So I'm not surprised APC lost. I'm only surprised that they didn't lose by a wider margin.
Okay.
It was yes, sir.
All right. Well, thank you for that first salvo. Let me get it from Dr. Johnson as well. The rift, shall we say, within the ruling APC. I'm talking here about Ademola and some of his co-travelers. Would you put the results largely being a result of that lack of stability?
There's a particular saying in our local dialect, and I'll try to, as much as possible, to interpret. Now, if you don't die at home, you cannot die outside. It is much easier to deal with enemy from the outside than to deal with enemy from within.
Enemy within.
So to a large extent, parties usually have problem from their inability to manage their internal crisis, and it was evident for everybody to see. PDP lost in 2015 as a result of crisis within that party, and which they were not able to resolve before going to the main election in 2015. And with respect to Osun State, we saw the polarization right from 2018 with respect to who become the flag bearer, and then reluctantly some of the faction that lost out went to other party. You recall the candidate that took the sitting governor to court came back. Adeleke, who happens to be SSG in that government, went to another party to contest in 2018 before returning back to APC to contest the election before going to they approached the court until 2 days to the election. Mm-hmm. Even the governor was not still sure. Mm-hmm. Nobody was sure who will be the candidate of APC with respect to that election until the court ruled that nullified the case that was brought by the aspirant that came second, that in that election. And if you follow issues towards that particular campaign, you see that that internal strife was there. That internal conflict was there. It's not to discount the fact that PDP never had its own conflict. You know, PDP had its own conflict too, because there was a member of the Adeleke family too that collected the form for the PDP ticket. There was a candidate of the PDP who also went to court. However, they were able to resolve their internal crisis, and that candidate that came second in PDP election was even made to be the chairman of the campaign team for the party. So the lessons to be learned from political parties are they need to resolve their internal crisis. In politics, what you require is to win the election. Whatever it takes for you to win the election, to manage your internal problem, is very, very important and paramount.
Okay, if you agree with that, then how easy is it indeed to go that way? It might be strategic, of course. It definitely is properly strategic. But then we're talking about human beings here, and sometimes egos maybe get in the way. After all, it is people that form a party. It's all about, from what I'm hearing from both you gentlemen, it's all about nipping in the bud early enough any problem that if you could extrapolate it, you see that this could cost us plenty. So how easy or difficult? After all, Jide has just pointed out that it's not as if PDP hasn't had its own internal conflicts. In fact, it cost them the entire election that took them out of power. What would be your thoughts on this?
Sorry, like you said, I don't think any party really has a homogeneous affair before they go into election. But the Osun State one was very, the divisions were too deep. And I'm surprised because Asiwaju is supposed to be a strategist, is a man that has a way of bringing everybody together when it counts. I'm surprised he didn't do enough work in Osun State with the Oyetola faction and the current governor there. It was just too much discontent when you even see some current party members actually doing videos cursing out the current governor. So I thought it was a strategic blunder. Maybe he just wanted to test something. With all due respect, we all know how powerful and how resourceful Asiwaju is. But I think it could have solved that problem. It was an ego thing from my own point of view that, okay, I can do it without you, F you, and then they went in there. And of course, those guys on ground, the Ademola and his own co-travelers, they were determined that they were going to embarrass the APC in that state. So you can see them literally campaigning for the other party and collapsing their structure. So I think, and it was not as if it was a surprise. Everybody knew that there was a disaffection between Aregbe and the governor and the national flag bearer and the APC generally. And a lot of people try to put them together. So I was surprised that they could not bury their egos and then get the election done. And I think everybody was trying to prove they have the power in Osun State. And at the end of the day, APC ends up losing a state they should have won very, very easily. So it's very important, obviously, and I think it may be a good thing for APC, for them to see what can happen if they don't put their house in order. And also, we can't discount the fact that if internal fighting or no internal fighting, the people of Osun State finally spoke. They were tired. They wanted Adeleke. Let's be frank. Adeleke is extremely popular in that state. They wanted, even in the Labour Party, the so-called obedient movement, a lot of the people that are supposed to be supporting Labour because they are supporting Peter Obi, they actually went and supported Adeleke. I met one of our very strong obedient guy, and he told me Adeleke is supporting. And I'm like, why? He said, well, give me a lot of reasons. So we cannot discount also the popularity of Adeleke in Osun State in winning that election. It's not just about APC internal problems. The man has been close before. And this time, election buying was minimized. Election rigging was minimized. And I think the voice of the people finally spoke regardless. That's my own take on the matter based on reports I was getting from my state coordinator who was briefing me every step of the way. So it's a combination of several things, but we have to give Adeleke his flowers. The man worked hard and he danced very hard. You know, he's a great dancer. Unfortunately, the other guys can't dance.
Well, Dr. Johnson, first of all, look at the margin this time. The margin this time is larger. That is with which Adeleke, beat APC. It's larger this time than it was the other time that resulted in going to court and a rerun in certain areas. And this has been linked to the fact that not all receivables, talking about votes now, actually happened the way it had been conjectured. Take, for instance, the secretary of APC, Senator Mishore. He was expected to deliver a certain number. He did deliver, but maybe not the entirety of the expectation.
In actual sense, the person that has a voice in Osun State, if you look at the result, that actually delivered happens to be the national secretary of the party. Out of the 4 local governments in Ife, 3 were delivered. If other leaders from the party were able to put up his own, the type of strength he put up, I'm sure the party will be smiling today and not be doing a postmortem with respect to the election. You see, Uncle Yori, elections in Osun have always been dynamic. It's the only election that was never close was the election of 2014, which was a blowout when Ademola ran for a second-term election. But every other election, whether 2011 election, which Ademola eventually won at the courts, where the courts nullified 10 out of the 20 local government elections to 1, the elections have always been close. That of 2018 was very, very close. So to a large extent, there are some local dimensions to take to politics in Osun. And you will have expected APC to close their ranks because, one, you can't discount the fact that the Adeleke family are a family to be reckoned with. One, the father of this governor-elect was a senator.
His big brother.
The father.
Okay.
The father was a senator.
Okay.
The big brother was governor-elect, the first democratically elected governor of Osun State in 1992, and later elected as a senator. He's also elected as a senator. There must be something going for them politically. Without us using the label of dancing or no dancing and the rest of it.
Or unlimited funds or whatever.
So there must be something going politically. There's a political history and there is a connection between that family and the people of Osun and the people of their particular.
Ede is their stronghold.
Exactly. Check out the result from Ede. For me, the lessons to be learned from all political parties with respect to this is that you don't take the people for granted. You don't take your members for granted. You check out the voters' turnout. The voters' turnout was impressive. That's the election that we have. Better than even national election. Better than every election.
We were here on Saturday, and that showed.
Better than any election we have ever, over 50%. Now you have a situation whereby you have 1.9 million registered voters, 1.5 million plus PVC collected, and you have a result that turned out more than 800,000 votes were returned. And when you have massive voters turnout, it is difficult for you to have vote buying, one. Two, because you don't have all the resources to buy everybody. Two, it is also difficult for you to rig the election, because where majority of the people come out to vote, then they usually defend their vote and they're interested in ensuring that their vote actually counts. And this is what we want. Let whoever emerges. Now, you know the interesting thing, Osun? Like I said, whoever emerges through this system knows that if he does not do the right thing, the people will kick him out in the next 4 years. And this is the dynamics we want to have for national election, for every election in Nigeria, that people will know that power belongs to the people. And if you don't do what you're expected to do, regardless of your party platform, regardless of whether your party is established or not established, the people will decide your fate.
Okay, let me pick up that thread with you, Ope. Does this mean that because we sat here on Saturday during the day of the election and we're talking about what everybody had to bring to that election, does it mean that people, the so-called the manifesto didn't matter, the ideology, whatever it is, the pitch, does it mean that it didn't really matter? Because it was thought that it's pretty difficult to to move an incumbent, especially an incumbent that has performed well. And it was thought that the now outgoing governor had not done too badly. But none of that seemed to count. Why do you think that is?
Well, whether the man has done badly or not badly, I think it's a matter of opinion. I don't think he has done well. But of course, that's a matter of opinion. But coming back to the question, I don't think manifesto has ever mattered in Nigeria since the days of UPN and MPN. That's when it was clear. You know what UPN stands for, you know what MPN stands for. But these days, there is no difference. Let's not deceive ourselves, and that's part of our problem. You can barely tell the difference between APC and PDP or any party now because it's the same personnel. They keep exchanging. Those who are in APC today, now they are in PDP tomorrow, and you are confused. So there's no ideology. It has come down to the person. That is why somebody like Peter Obi is very popular nationally, though his party barely had any structures on ground. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens with him next year, to see whether you can actually win without a good structure, the way people understand it. So the ideology, I don't know the difference. I'm the national president of Naija Lives Matter. We've had people on ground for 2 or 3 months before that election. I can't tell you that this is the difference in the manifesto of Oyetola and that of Adeleke. It became a personality thing. Adeleke was doing his dancing with his brother. You guys are laughing. He actually got a lot of votes with Davido, and that is dancing thing. People just love him. You have no choice but to like the man when you see him shaking and bobbing to that music. And people are very fickle. That is what was some of the things they like people for. So the manifesto, unfortunately, is not a big deal anymore. It's come down to the people, to the person, the personality of the people. For instance, someone like me, even though I may have a party that I support, but I'm not going to support all the candidates in that same party. If I see a senatorial candidate from APC that I like, I'll vote for him. If I see one from PDP, I'll vote for him. The only thing I can, then also presidential, because it is coming down to, can I trust this guy? Because parties have become largely irrelevant. People, they drop their party at the drop of a hat. So, and it is sad because really, we should have every other democracy where you have 2 dominant party systems. Is very clear what they stand for. Only in Nigeria, because in those parts, in those states, those countries, you cannot. It's very hard to see a Republican now become a Democrat in the U.S. It happens every once in a while, but very rare because their ideologies are diametrically opposed.
They're already well known.
In America, there's no difference. Okay, there is absolutely no difference because the same personnel that you saw in PDP 4 years ago, they are the ones in APC now. We also saw the ridiculous thing going on in Kwara State where for 3 elections, Dino Melaye and the other guy, they were switching parties to contest against each other. And that's what we have. Maybe we'll get better. We've seen high turnout of voters. Now Nigerians are now taking their own destiny very serious. So maybe from the next election cycle, we can start to get better. But on this one, there is no difference. And maybe even Peter Obi that is very popular right now, you can't really say their ideologies are different from the APC PDP. People just believe in him that he probably might be a different kind of leader. But we don't know until that happens. Thank you.
Indeed. Dr. Johnson, well, if as Ope puts it, is indeed the way it is, then it means there's going to have to be a whole paradigm shift going into the 2023 elections. Okay, this one is done. It's gone for now. And but generally, as Ope was suggesting in there, people have to sort of re-strategize, go back to the beginning, and look at it. At that point, we often hear it that, what are you talking about ideology? There's hardly any difference in the ideology between the parties, so there's nothing for the people to choose from. So have we come down to politics of personalities now? Whether the personality is a candidate or not, it might be some kingmaker behind that is the personality who says, you, my followers, let's go this way, and they agree with him.
You see, modern day politics is not limited to Nigeria. That's just the reality. I don't know what the Republican ideology and the Democratic Party ideology or the Liberal Democrats in Britain and what the ideology is with respect to once they get to Washington, they become the same. Just like you elect senators in Nigeria, once they get to Abuja, there are no parties among Nigerian senators. It's the elites. So the political elites, it is only when there is a difference in terms of their interest, that's where you have them clinging to one ideology or the other. It's more of personality. Now, running and winning election, because you can't imagine how did Boris Johnson emerge to become the Prime Minister of Great Britain. How did Obama it was not ideology that gave Obama the presidency. It was his personality and it was his person and what he was able to build across board and with Donald Trump too. So when people talk about that ideology, there seems to be no ideology in politics. It's now turned to political marketing.
Which also throws back to the point you made earlier that the Adeleke family is no means fry.
So more or less now, like Ope himself highlighted, it's about the personality. Who are you picking as your candidate to run for the election? Is he a likable person?
You know, we used to have a time when you could put anybody in a given party and he would win
the election. But now parties will go hard now to look for candidates that are popular, candidates that have mass appeal. Do you think that if PDP had fielded another candidate in that election, apart from Adeleke, that had a base, that had an appeal, do you think they would have won the election? These are open for debate. So that's what, moving forward in Nigerian politics, you will see that parties now will be much more interested in looking out for candidates that can actually pull and win the election, that will have massive appeal. Look at the appeal that Obi has, for example. People talk about Obi. There's no structure with respect as in party structure for the party. But there is a mass appeal. Whether that mass appeal will translate to vote is left for all of us to see when the election comes around. But parties, we are now seeing that there is a consciousness on the part of the people that the people are now saying that we are stakeholders. You need to involve us. You need to take us into consideration when you are selecting people and picking up people for candidates. So it has always been like that. And that's why you see the two parties running for 2023 election, the two major parties, the PDP and the APC. What were the factors that was responsible for their presidential candidate? It was not the ideology, because you have not seen any policy being articulated by this candidate. It's just the appeal that has appealed to people. So that's a factor.
Well, what you say is sort of very important, because people were looking at certain indices and saying that, look, first of all, that whole theory that it's difficult to shift an incumbent.
Ademola defeated an incumbent. No, Osun, people need to study the dynamics of Osun and the dynamics of Oyo's politics. Don't forget, Oyo and Osun used to be together. And politics is extremely local. Now, if you are looking for deep Yoruba language, where do you get it from?
You go on your side.
You go on your Osun side. And if you are talking about the cradle of Yoruba kingdom, it's where? In both. Contemporary in Oyo kingdom, ancient in Ife, in Osun State. So these are deep Yoruba states, and where you have a lot of these. So election has always been very, very dynamic. Where does this statement come from? Choromi, Orinomi, Demomoa. You know the First Republic. You can only see my hand. You don't know what is in my hand.
You don't know
so
how
going to that election, there were a lot of people that portrayed themselves as voting for one party. They eventually voted for another party when they got to the Kumiko. That's why the governor said they are studying the results.
Yes, exactly. So this particular aspect that Dr. Jide brings out, Dr. Jide Johnson brings out, I guess it could be like that for other areas too, where you have such monolithic blocks. He's just painted it that, look, in Yoruba land, quite frankly, you can't talk about the people without Ile-Ife, and as he was saying, and then there's also Oyo. So all of those you think that all of these played into what we're talking about as well?
Well, first, for the first time, I want to disagree with my brother there. to say there is no ideology anywhere else in the world. It's not true. At least in the US, where I live, when somebody says a Republican, you can tell at least 7 things that you know he supports. You know it's going to be against abortion. If it's a Democrat, you know he is for abortion, for majority.
Okay.
You know where there are 7 non-negotiable things. When you are a Republican, you know you have to support that. When you're a Democrat, we don't have that in Nigeria. Nigeria is sui generis. We are different. Our own is one. And then I also don't agree. To a larger extent, politics might be local, but it's not always local. Peter Obi has never been to Jebumushi, I'm sure, but it's very popular there. I have cells there who are saying we die for Peter Obi. Peter Obi has not impacted many areas of Nigeria, and yet he has diehard fanatics. But like he said, though, it remains to be seen.
It remains to be seen whether that will translate. Indeed.
Or not. And that is my concern, because shouting on social media is not going to make anybody president, and we all know that.
Okay, Dr. Banwo, I beg your pardon. I've got to interrupt you because I've got to go on a break, but please stand by. We'll be back, and stay with us, please. We'll be right back, and we'll include your calls as well. Okay, welcome back. Our guest this morning, Dr. Ope Banwo, attorney and techpreneur, founder, Naija Lives Matter. He's on Zoom and he's in the US right now. Thank God for technology. So he's live with us in studio, so to speak. And Dr. Jide Johnson, Chief Lecturer, NIJ, our political affairs analyst. Let me just go back to Dr. Banwo because I'm just... yes. What do you think of the performance of INEC in this election? INEC had said from the beginning that it was committed to delivering a credible election. What do your spotters say to you? Because locally here, they say, you know, INEC did a good job.
Yes, I think I'm one of the harshest critics of the Buhari government. I'm not going to deny that, but we have to give the man his flowers for some of the fundamental things he's starting to make happen in Nigeria. History may still end up being a little bit kind to him for that. Number one, the way he allowed the APC primaries to go. Anybody want to run, go and run. The man is looking at you. He did not interfere. He allowed the democratic process to take place. This election also, it looks like he's got a good INEC, and then the body language from his end is that he's not going to interfere, let the best man win. And I think INEC did a great job. I'm happy. Even until the time they declared it, you can see that Adeleke was nervous, that maybe they're going to say inconclusive. But at the end of the day, they declared it. It was smooth, it was swift, it was instantaneous, and that should be making a lot of governors panic right now.
Indeed.
Because it means the people is going to be prevailing. And look at the turnout, over 50%. There is problem coming for a non-performing governor. So that means you have to deliver on your state, because now INEC is not going to protect you. The vice president is going to go do surgery during the election, no help from nowhere. You are on your own. So for me, I think we have to give INEC their flowers. We hope they can keep up this so that in 2023, the real will of the people can prevail, and people will be stunned, because people are no longer voting on party lines anymore. They are voting for candidates of their choice.
Okay.
And so there's a mismatch.
One moment, okay. Let me just bring on Ernest. Good morning to you, sir.
Morning, Uncle Yori.
Good morning. Thank you for calling in.
Yeah, good morning to Mr. Jide Johnson.
Okay.
Good morning.
And the other gentleman from the
Dr. Ope Banwo.
All right. You're welcome, sir, Uncle Yori. A demand from America is making a lot of sense, because the problem we have in Nigeria is that our political parties don't have any ideology. We don't know them with any particular thing. You understand? Both APC, both PDP, they're just the same thing. Cross-carpeting. From this one, you see this one in the PDP, this year, next year, you see them in the APC. So the whole that day, I call them our political hustlers. They're just hustling for their pocket. They're not hustling to fix the country. And that is why, like the video that went viral, what the Minister for Interior Affairs in America, Onkoyori, I can assure you such a thing is still coming. Namely, our political elite is going to face the same similar fate in foreign lands. Because they destroy Nigeria, they run away to other countries to go on medical tourism. Their children are schooling there and everything until there's revolution in Nigeria. The country may not be free. You understand?
All right, then.
What's happening today in Sri Lanka?
Thank you.
President has run away. It will happen in Nigeria. If these people don't repent from what is their evil way. Thank you and good morning, Uncle Ori.
Good morning to you. Thank you very much for calling in. Jide, going back to the question of the performance of INEC, Ope is saying that INEC, things have become a lot more difficult to be mischievous with elections.
The credit must go to all Nigerians who demanded for the Electoral Act to be. You recall in 2019, the Electoral Act was passed, but the president refused to assent to that. It said it was too early. And then a comprehensive. I was on studio when with you when Mike Okoye, the national publicity, spoke about the process that was put in place for Electoral Act of 2022, how rigorous and how thorough, and how many stakeholders were involved, how many public hearings. And I think that we should credit. I've always given stick to the National Assembly on this, particularly this particular assembly. I want to give them credit. Both the Senate and the House of Rep. I want to give the civil society credit. And then I want to give the Nigerian people and the media also credit. You recall that this Electoral Act, the president was reluctant in signing this Electoral Act. The president, until there was pressure, and until he also said that the consensus clause in the party primary should be included. It was when the president eventually assented to this particular bill to become an act which INEC has used. And like Ope pointed out, I was here on Saturday, and I said, when you have large turnout of voters, it is very difficult for you to engage in voters' buying, and it is very difficult for you to rig the election because the people are out to cast their vote. And I'm sure across the length and breadth of Nigeria, the political class are scared.
Indeed, they must be. Let me bring in Elder David. Elder David in Limosho. Good morning, sir.
God bless you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. The election in Osun State, we thank God, and I congratulate the Osun State voters for being peaceful. And the credit goes to the government of APC for making it a very peaceful place. We thank President Muhammadu Buhari. The leadership have restored democracy to this country, where people can now contest and win elections. Even independent candidates can win elections. Yes, that is the same state where Ademola won 2007, and the other man, was declared as a winner. And we thank God, may so rest in peace. Yar'Adua allowed it, and later Yar'Adua accepted that they should look into the issue, and Ademola, they gave his mandate. That was the same state. 2011, our respected Lai Mohammed was arrested by DSL because he was troubling an election, but Ademola still win. But today, what happened in Osun State is a family issue. And I congratulate the man there, if I thought it's not over yet. Because the language of not accepting defeat, like what happened in Bayelsa, like what happened in Zamfara and other, it will come to play. The other man can still go to court. But the issue at stake now is that actually the governor tried his best. It is the fight between him and Ademola that caused the problem. Where are the local government chairman and their councillors? Where are the commissioners? Where are the special advisors? Because they were arrogant. The government tried. Our leader, the APC, Ahmed Tinubu, the next president of this country, come 2023 by grace of God, he was there, and they respected him. But let me tell you one thing. The elections there today are nothing to do with presidential election. You cannot compare lion with wolf. APC is lion.
All right, then. Okay. Thank you very much, Elder David. Appreciate your call. Ope, did you want to come in on, do you want to say something? Because it seemed like there was a bit of audio from your side.
I'm hearing that you cannot compare anything of 2023 with this election, that the lion is bigger than the goat and all that. It's part of the challenge I've been telling even the Peter Obi supporters. They keep excusing themselves. well, we don't care what happens now. The Peter Obi will win 2023. You don't get your act together now, you are not going to get it together in 2023. The people are telling you something right now, at least in Osun State, that we're not happy with the ruling party. That should be sending very, very serious, dangerous signals to the APC candidate. And they are telling you we're going to come out and show our displeasure. Yes, Adeleke was popular in Osun State. Yes, there was internal fighting in APC. But let's not rule out the underlying major discontent. People are not happy with this government right now. And they might hold those in the current part, for instance, APC, yeah, Tinubu may have not been the one that is running this government, but he gave us this government. And he has a lot of work to do if he still wants Nigerians to come out and reward him for this government next year. So don't discount what is happening now. And Labour Party lost badly. I'm very angry about that. But a lot of Peter Obi supporters, they want to discount it, that Peter Obi is going to be different. No, the same people that voted today are the ones that are still going to be in Osun State in February.
Okay.
And people don't go back and realign themselves with their roots. And this speaks to everybody, APC, PDP, Labour. You might be surprised. What is happening now could be an indication of where people are going in February, and a lot of work needs to be done. So I won't dismiss Osun State results and say it doesn't matter for February 2023. It's an indication, and we all better get serious on all parties. Thank you.
Ready for it. Dr. Johnson, the point that INEC, kudos must go to it, as both you gentlemen have said, and the Electoral Act have now allowed, have enabled a situation where people seem to be much more conscious than we have seen before in terms of, for instance, getting their PVC card, signifying an intention to make a difference, because I'm guessing people say, thinking that, you know, now my votes will count. Unlike before, when they were lethargic because they felt that, oh, it's the same old, you're not going to tell me anything new, votes don't count. But now it looks like there's a reassurance. You see youths up and down the land clogging up centers. Why? We want our PVC card. Of course, they're going to use it to vote. So when you look at that dynamic going on, can anybody really call 2023?
You can't call the election. And then what Dr. Ope said, what do you see the Electoral Act amendment was as the result of disagreement between the political class, the governor on one side and the National Assembly member on the other side. What would determine the outcome of 2023 election is where we have seen that the establishment, they have aligned themselves. Tinubu and Atiku are the establishment candidate. The anti-establishment candidate is Peter Obi. Now, what we are waiting for is where is the military industrial complex of the Nigerian political landscape? Where does their interest lie? And Ope will agree with me that in America, the military industrial complex, because he was talking about the ideology, the military industrial complex and the establishment, once they align their resources together, they go in one direction. It was because the military industrial complex were not satisfied with Donald Trump. That's why they got rid of Donald Trump. And that's why you have Joe Biden there. So there are elements that bring the elites, the political elites, and that complex. And that is what gave us that law. And that law has returned power back to the people. Now, everyone that wants to contest the election, and when people talk about result, all you need to do is to crunch the numbers. I keep talking about numbers. In Yoruba land, people don't vote the same direction. It's clear. Go and check June 12th. Even on June 12th, some Yoruba people still voted against Abiola. The results are there.
Okay.
You will be shocked with the number of votes that TOFA polled in states like Ondo, in states like Oyo. They are public figures. Go and check the data.
Uche in Abeokuta, good morning to you, sir. Thank you for holding on.
Yeah, good morning.
Yori Folari.
Yeah, good morning. Good morning.
Dr. Jide Johnson and Dr. Ope Banwo.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir. Yeah, this is Uche. I'm calling from Adeleke in Osun State.
Go ahead, please.
Yeah, I'm calling. You see, when people say that the PDP and APC are the same, I disagree with them. You know, they can be the same in terms of movement, but in terms of government structure, I think PDP are better structured in government setting than APC. Now, for instance, when the APC came to power, they did not know that they would win that election. They were even surprised winning that election. They were surprised that good luck congratulated them. So when they came to power, they were like absent. They did not know what to do. They have to wait for about 6 months to even have a minister in place. So somebody telling me that APC and PDP are the same, is not true.
Okay, that's the point. That's the point that you wanted to make. That you don't agree that there's no difference. There's no ideological difference. That's what you seem to be saying. Am I right there? You disagree. APC and PDP ideologically cannot be interchanged. That's what you seem to be saying. Again, thank you very much, Uche, for calling in. He made some assertions, backing why he has that position. He felt that APC was a bit slow to get up off the ground when they won the election and that kind of a thing. But, that
was 7 years ago now.
Exactly. Go ahead, Ope.
Yeah, so I think it is when a government has performed badly that you start wishing for Egypt. So when I keep hearing PDP telling me now, that they are better than APC, I'm like, what are you guys talking about? There's a reason we had Buhari without thinking. PDP was so bad that Nigerians are saying anybody else will return Jonathan. Somehow, in 7 years, we now have a memory loss. Now, all of a sudden, PDP is looking like a good party. No, they are not good. They were very bad. We were having a scandal a day, to the point that most Nigerians were very upset. So now that Buhari has come, and 7 years, a lot of people are not satisfied. Some people are now trying to sell us a romanticized version of PDP, lie. And there's a reason why somebody like Peter Obi is getting very popular. Ordinarily, Peter Obi should not have any traction. But people are desperate. They are tired of APC, they are tired of PDP, and they are looking for any solution. Now it is Peter Obi, everybody's, at least most people are trying to align behind, out of frustration. So I get very upset personally when people come and say PDP is better than APC. On what level? On what level? They should please list it for every one of us. In my own opinion, yes, I was a Buharist before. Year one after he became a president, I disavowed him for that very reason that I couldn't put his government together for 1 year, and they say, call me Buharist no more. But let's not get things confused. APC of the last 7 years is not so much worse off than PDP of 6 years before.
Okay.
It only looks bad because it's like when you divorce somebody, you think that, and you start having problems in your new marriage, all of a sudden your old wife start looking very attractive. PDP dealt with us very badly. Let's not forget that.
Okay.
All right. So
interesting analogy you make.
Well, I can.
Interesting.
Well,
sorry,
okay.
You'll come in on this whole point, so please hold the point in mind because I want to take Benga, who has called in from Abuja. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning to the doctors there. The one from the US, and I wish it could keep busy for you to come on air. Because by now it should be around 60 in US.
5 a.m. actually in my place. Yes.
5 a.m. you can see. So I appreciate that commitment. You see, let me tell you, politics is local, and what has happened in Osun are really confirmed it. Look at 2 neighboring states. PDP and APC won landslide in Ekiti, and people are saying it was rigging, it was vote buying. Look at what happened in Osun State. That shows that politics is local. We have to look at local content. How did it happen? Number one, 2 of the girls there are only confirming division in APC, popularity of the family of Adeleke and the rest of them. And also, let's not remove the factor of the fact that people themselves, they want a change. They want to say something new. This happened in Ekiti State when Kayode Fayemi was there in the first time. People say, okay, let's see what will happen. They brought in, what you call it, Fayoshe the second time. And you see that they themselves, on their own, going back to APC. APC have won 2 times now. What I'm saying is that, politics in Osun, in Yoruba land, they are very dark, and that's what is showing there. And to me, what it is telling the party is that both APC and APC, let them make their fences before the general election. Yes. The party with a crack will suffer some losses if they don't make fences well. especially the PDP. Now, PDP is having two issues. The obedience have already divided their votes in the South, especially the South and Southeast. Now, the issue of not taking Wike now is a factor. If you don't settle Wike now, the first one until the election is to work against PDP. So what am I saying is that every faction should mend their fences. If not, there will be some surprise springing up on our way. But I'm telling you that there's no way Obi can influence the two parties. Obi may perform, yes, the followers are there, but it cannot be, above the two parties. One of the two parties will suffer a great loss. And I'm saying PDP because the way this is going for them in South, East, South, South, because of obedient movement, really affect them greatly. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Gboyega, for calling in from Abuja.
Well, I can understand the biases of Dr. Ope with respect to, there's no difference between PDP and APC. They are the same. There's no difference. Look at the character running for presidential candidate in Nigeria. They are part of the elites. They are part of the establishment. It's just that one has a personality that has a massive appeal. One, Kwankwaso is a former governor, yes or no? Peter Obi is a former governor, yes or no? And a running mate of PDP presidential candidate for 2019 and presidential candidate for 2023 before he moves to Labour Party. Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu is a former governor. Atiku Abubakar was elected as governor-elect and later vice president. It is still the class of the political class. It is still the elite. It's just that one has an appeal to the people. They are the same. It's just looking at the same coin. You turn it whichever way is good. The major problem of Nigeria is not even the candidates. Because one, you have tried two generals. Two, you have tried educated presidential candidate. It is the present structure we have. No, even bring 20,000 Peter Obi or bring 20,000 Obama to come and operate with the constitution and with the system and the structure of government we have in Nigeria presently. This system, is it not going to work with the same National Assembly? Is it not going to work with the same structure we have in place? Let me quickly take it to security issue. We said changing, rejigging the security architecture, changing the personnel. We bring about a change in the fortune of Nigeria. Has it brought about change? So this system, whatever the system is, what we should be looking forward to 2023, whoever wins the election, what should be the demand of Nigeria is that we need to rejig this country. We need to restructure. We need to bring power back to the people. We need to have a proper structure. How was the Nigerian nation put in place in the first instance? When we had agreement with constitution, it has to do with parliamentary system of government, whereby the people themselves, power really reside locally with the people, not somebody sitting in Abuja and distributing money for everybody.
Okay, Ope, I'll give you the last word because we've run out of time. The program is about to end. Did you want to add anything to that?
Yes, I was going to say, well, it is true there might be a lot of stuff wrong with our constitution, but with great leaders who have the people in mind, they can manage those imperfections. I agree 100%. We need a restructuring of the country that is done in the National Assembly. But let's not excuse ourselves with our imperfect constitution. Let's put the blame on our leaders who do not care about us. After all, Britain does not even have a constitution, and the country is running well. We have one. It's imperfect. But the reason why it's not working with this imperfection is that we have leaders who just go in there to share money. They do not care about us.
Well,
we have
it's a time
on all parts of the nation. Let me just quickly wrap up.
Sure.
Because we have this tendency of blaming the Northerners, but everybody keep forgetting that the Minister of Internal Affairs is a Yoruba man. So all the insecurity in Nigeria today, we should blame some of it on him. So it is a failure on all levels of leadership, and you can't blame that on constitution. That is trying to give excuse.
All right, Ope. Thank you very, very much, Ope. Appreciate your coming on. And also thanks to Dr. Jide Johnson as well.
It's a pleasure to be with you.
The election has been, won and lost.
And I hope Dr. Ope will send us the wine for his daughter's for the daughter's graduation.
Okay, so thank you very much, gentlemen. That's the way it is today. Please join us tomorrow for a fresh edition. And again, special thanks to Dr. Banwo for getting up, and it's 5 a.m. in the US there. Thank you very much, Ope. Appreciate you. Okay, so join us tomorrow for a fresh edition. I'm Yori Folari. Bye-bye for now.